The Haunting of Ravenscroft Manor. Chapter 1. The Invitation. In the heart of Victorian-age London, an air of mystery hung over Ravenscroft Manor. Built on the ruins of an old abbey, the mansion had a reputation for being haunted. Despite its ominous history, it was the chosen location for a reunion of 7 friends, all from prestigious backgrounds, who had not seen each other in over a decade. Sebastian, the host, had sent out elegant invitations, urging his friends to join him for a weekend of reminiscence and merriment. As the carriages rolled up the gravel driveway, each friend felt a mixture of excitement and unease. The towering manor, with its ivy-covered walls and looming gargoyles, seemed to watch their every move. Chapter 2. The Arrival. The friends arrived one by one. Isabella, a renowned opera singer, whose voice could both enchant and terrify. Thomas, a doctor with a morbid fascination for the macabre. Evelyn, a novelist known for her gothic horror tales. Henry, a skeptic and scientist who disdains superstition. Margaret, a clairvoyant with a history of accurate but grim predictions. Charles, an explorer with tales of distant lands and hidden dangers. As they settled in, the atmosphere was jovial, but an undercurrent of tension was palpable. Ravenscroft Manor seemed to breathe around them, its dark corridors whispering secrets of the past. Chapter 3. The First Night. The friends gathered in the grand dining hall, where a lavish feast awaited. As the night wore on, they shared stories of their exploits and laughed heartily. However, Margaret, the clairvoyant, grew increasingly uneasy. She felt a presence, a malevolent force lurking just beyond the edge of their perception. After dinner, they retired to the drawing room, where Sebastian suggested a séance. Despite Henry's protests, curiosity won over, and they gathered around a grand oak table. As they joined hands, the temperature in the room plummeted. Margaret's eyes rolled back, and she began to speak in a voice not her own, warning them of the impending doom. Chapter 4. Isabella's Demise. The séance ended abruptly with a loud crash. Isabella, shaken, decided to retire to her room. As she walked down the dimly lit corridor, the gas lamps flickered, and a cold breeze swept through the manor. Entering her room, she found a phonograph playing a haunting melody. Mesmerized, she approached it, but the music turned into a cacophony of screams. Suddenly, the mirror in her room cracked, and a ghostly figure emerged, dragging her into the looking glass. Isabella's screams echoed through the manor, but when the friends rushed to her room, they found it empty, the mirror shattered, and her belongings strewn about. Chapter 5. Thomas's Terror. Thomas, determined to uncover the truth, ventured into the cellar. He believed Isabella's disappearance had a rational explanation. As he examined the ancient wine casks, a foul odor filled the air. Turning, he saw a grotesque apparition, its rotting flesh crawling with worms. The ghost advanced, its hollow eyes fixed on Thomas. In a panic, he tried to escape, but the cellar door slammed shut. The apparition reached out, its icy hand piercing Thomas's chest, stopping his heart. His lifeless body was discovered the next morning, a look of sheer terror etched on his face. Chapter 6. Evelyn's End. Evelyn, ever the skeptic, took to her room to write down the night's events. As she scribbled furiously, she noticed her ink well running dry. Reaching for a new bottle, she found a blood-red liquid instead of ink. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she began to write with it. The words on the paper twisted and morphed, spelling out a curse. The candlelight flickered, and the shadows on the walls came to life, enveloping her. Evelyn's screams were muffled as the shadows consumed her, leaving behind a blood-soaked manuscript detailing her gruesome fate. Chapter 7. Henry's Doubt. Henry, still in denial, decided to explore the attic, believing there was a logical explanation. As he climbed the narrow stairs, he heard whispers calling his name. The attic was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets, and the air was thick with dust. He uncovered an old portrait of a man who looked eerily like him. The eyes of the portrait followed him, and suddenly, the frame burst into flames. Panicking, Henry tried to escape, but the door slammed shut. The flames spread rapidly, engulfing him in a fiery inferno. His charred remains were discovered later, clutching the scorched portrait. Chapter 8: Margaret's Vision. Margaret, now certain of the malevolent force at work, tried to warn the remaining friends. Her visions grew more intense, showing her the manor's dark past. She saw the abbey that once stood on the grounds, where monks performed unholy rituals. One night, she was drawn to the library, where an ancient tome lay open on a pedestal. As she read the forbidden text, the spirits of the damned surrounded her. They dragged her into the pages of the book, her screams echoing as she was trapped in an eternal nightmare. Chapter 9: Charles's Fall. Charles, ever the adventurer, decided to brave the manor's hidden passages. He discovered a secret door behind a tapestry leading to a labyrinth of tunnels. As he navigated the dark corridors, he stumbled upon a chamber filled with ancient relics and skeletal remains. Suddenly, the walls began to close in. He tried to escape, but the passageways shifted, disorienting him. The floor beneath him gave way, and he plummeted into a pit of spikes, impaled and left to bleed out in the darkness. Chapter 10: Sebastian's Fate. Sebastian, the host, realized too late the true horror of Ravenscroft Manor. His friends were dead, and the spirits of the past sought to claim him as well. Desperate, he tried to flee, but the doors and windows of the manor were sealed shut. He retreated to the chapel, hoping for sanctuary. As he prayed for forgiveness, the ghostly monks of the old abbey appeared, chanting in Latin. They dragged him to the altar, where they performed a dark ritual, binding his soul to the manor for eternity. Epilogue: The New Dawn. Ravenscroft Manor stood silent once more, the souls of its latest victims trapped within its walls. The dawn broke, casting a pale light over the ancient structure. In the distance, a new group of travelers approached, drawn by the manor's dark allure. Unbeknownst to them, the spirits of their predecessors awaited, ready to continue the cycle of horror. The haunting of Ravenscroft Manor was far from over, and the echoes of the past would soon welcome new souls to their eternal torment.